I still remember the day my parents crushed my dreams. I was 22, fresh out of business school with honors, ready to join our family's restaurant chain. Montgomery Family Restaurants had been my grandfather's legacy, built from a single diner into a thriving chain of 50 restaurants across 3 states. I'd worked in those restaurants since I was 14, learning every position from dishwasher to manager. At what I thought was going to be my welcome to the company dinner, Dad dropped the bombshell. "The business is going to your sister," he announced. "Sarah has the right attitude for success." I stared at my pasta, suddenly losing my appetite. My 25-year-old sister smirked from across the table. She had never worked a day in the restaurants, preferring to spend her time shopping and posting on social media about being a future CEO. "But Dad," I protested, my voice trembling, "I've worked in the restaurants for years. I have a business degree. I know every aspect of—" "That's enough, Claire." Mom cut me off, her designer bracelet clinking against her wine glass. "Your sister has natural leadership abilities. You're too," she paused, glancing at Dad. "Simple for this kind of responsibility." "Simple?" I echoed, feeling like I'd been slapped. "Let's be honest," Sarah chimed in, examining her manicured nails. "You're the type who's happy serving tables. There's nothing wrong with that. Someone has to do it." I turned to Grandpa Jack, my biggest supporter, the man who had taught me about business while we worked side by side in his diner. But he sat in silence, his face unreadable as he methodically cut his steak. "It's decided," Dad declared. "Sarah will take over as CEO next month. You can keep your position as floor manager at the downtown location if you want." That night, I cried myself to sleep in my small apartment. All my dreams, all my hard work, dismissed. To them, I wasn't flashy enough, not the image of success. Still, the next morning I showed up to work as always, holding my head high despite the pitying looks from staff who'd already heard the news. Months passed. Sarah's leadership mostly involved taking long lunches with friends and posting motivational quotes on the company's social media. She ignored the advice of experienced managers, and when profits started to decline, Dad still backed her every move. Then I met James. He came into my restaurant one afternoon for lunch and ended up staying 3 hours, fascinated by my passionate explanation of how we ran operations. James was different from anyone I'd ever met, brilliant, kind, and genuinely interested in my ideas. A successful tech entrepreneur, he saw value in my simple approach to business. Our whirlwind romance was the bright spot in my increasingly difficult life. Within a year we were planning our wedding. My family's reaction was predictably condescending. "At least she found someone successful," Mom said when we announced our engagement. "Maybe now she can quit working altogether." "Not likely," Sarah laughed. "Claire loves being a servant." James squeezed my hand under the table, silently telling me, "They don't see your worth, but I do." We planned a small wedding, nothing like the extravagant spectacle Sarah had thrown the year before when she married a local politician's son. My parents contributed the bare minimum, just enough to avoid looking bad in front of their social circle. The morning of my wedding dawned bright and clear. I was in the bridal suite when a courier arrived with a letter. The envelope was thick, expensive paper. Written across it in familiar handwriting were the words, "To be delivered to Claire Montgomery on her wedding day." My hands trembled. It was from Grandpa Jack. He had passed away 3 months earlier, shortly after Sarah had taken over as CEO. His death had been sudden, a heart attack in his sleep. We had been surprised when no will was found, just instructions that all assets would be handled by his lawyers. I broke the seal and unfolded the letter. "My dearest Claire, if you're reading this, 2 things have happened. I am no longer here and you are marrying someone you love. I'm sorry I won't be there to walk you down the aisle, but I hope this letter will serve as my final gift to you. I've watched your parents and sister underestimate you your entire life. They see your kindness as weakness, your attention to detail as simplicity, and your hard work as servitude. But I saw something else. I saw myself in you. The same drive, the same understanding of what makes a business truly succeed, taking care of people and customers. What they don't know is that I never actually transferred ownership of Montgomery Family Restaurants to your father. I maintained majority ownership through a holding company, Eagle Ridge Enterprises. Your father only managed operations, thinking he owned everything, but he was always just an employee. Today, on your wedding day, ownership of Eagle Ridge Enterprises transfers to you. You are now the majority owner of Montgomery Family Restaurants. The lawyers have prepared all the paperwork. Your father, mother, and sister have been employees this whole time, and now they work for you. I couldn't stand to see them crush your spirit, but I needed to be sure you were ready. I needed you to learn humility, to understand every aspect of the business from the ground up. Most importantly, I needed you to find someone who values you for who you are, not for what you can give them. Show them what real leadership looks like, Claire. Show them what you've always been capable of. And remember, sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even, it's about rising above. All my love, Grandpa Jack. P.S. There's a board meeting scheduled for Monday morning. Don't be late, though. I set the letter down, hands shaking. My phone buzzed. A new email from Grandpa's lawyers confirming everything. Attached were documents showing the ownership transfer, the board meeting agenda, and even evidence of Sarah's mismanagement over the past months. A knock at the door startled me. Claire? Are you ready? It was James. Something's going on outside. Your family's making a scene. I could hear raised voices from the garden, where the ceremony was supposed to take place. Taking a deep breath, I opened the door. James looked at my face, then at the letter in my hand. Everything okay? He asked softly. I showed him the letter. His eyes widened as he read it, then a slow smile spread across his face. Well, he said, that explains why your father is out there yelling about some emergency board meeting notification he just received. I took his hand, feeling stronger than I had in years. Shall we deal with this before our wedding? Lead the way, so, he whispered, kissing my forehead. As we walked toward the garden, Sarah's shrill voice carried through the air. This has to be a mistake. I'm the CEO. I run this company. I stepped into the sunlight, the letter secure in my hand, ready to show them exactly what their simple daughter was capable of. The garden fell silent as I approached in my white wedding dress, the morning sun catching on the fabric. Dad's face was red, his phone clutched tightly. Mom fussed with her designer dress, a nervous habit she'd had for years. Sarah stood apart, her perfect makeup twisted into confusion. What's going on? She demanded, her voice rising. Why are we getting notifications about an emergency board meeting? And why? Her voice broke into a shriek. Why does it list you as CEO? For the first time, I looked at my family not with desperation but with certainty. This was just the beginning, that I didn't feel small under their gaze, because that's not who I was anymore. I said calmly, holding up Grandpa's letter. Would you like to read what Grandpa Jack had to say? Dad snatched the letter from my hands, his eyes scanning the pages rapidly. Mom and Sarah crowded around him, their faces growing paler with each line. The wedding guests watched in fascinated silence. This is impossible, Dad whispered. But I could see the recognition in his eyes. He knew it was real. Eagle Ridge Enterprises, I said evenly. All this time, Dad echoed, his voice hollow. You were just an employee, I confirmed, a manager just like me. Sarah lunged forward, jabbing her manicured finger into my chest. You planned this. You tricked Grandpa. Sarah, James interrupted, his voice carrying quiet authority. Your grandfather was one of the shrewdest businessmen in 3 states. Are you suggesting he was easily tricked? Or do you think he didn't know exactly what he was doing? Sarah fell silent, though her eyes blazed with fury. The board meeting is Monday at 9 a.m., I continued, straightening my shoulders. I expect everyone to be there. But right now, I turned to our guests with a smile. I'm getting married. You can't do this to me. Sarah suddenly screamed. I'm the CEO. I have contracts, commitments, all of which will be reviewed on Monday. I cut in firmly. Now you can either stay for the wedding as my family, or you can leave. Your choice. They left, of course. Mom paused only to throw one last dagger. You'll regret this, Claire. You're not ready for this responsibility. I watched them go, strangely peaceful. James took my hand and together we had our wedding. Smaller than planned, yes, but somehow more perfect. Our guests couldn't stop talking about the drama they'd witnessed, and I couldn't stop smiling. Monday morning, I walked into Montgomery Family Restaurants headquarters. I wore one of my usual work outfits. Not designer labels like Sarah's, but professional and practical. The security guard did a double take as I approached the executive elevator, then scrambled to open it for me. The boardroom was full when I arrived at exactly 9 a.m. Dad sat in the CEO's chair, Sarah beside him, both pretending the weekend hadn't happened. The board members, mostly Grandpa's old friends, watched with barely concealed interest. "You're in my seat," I said quietly. "Claire, be reasonable," Dad began, but Mr. Pearson, Grandpa's oldest friend on the board, stood. "Robert," he said firmly, "I believe you'll find your daughter is correct. We've all reviewed the documentation. Eagle Ridge Enterprises has always held majority ownership, and as of Saturday, Claire is its sole owner. She's our CEO now." The next hour blurred past in paperwork and signatures. Sarah stormed out halfway through, but not before I rescinded her executive access and compensation package. Dad sat grim-faced, each document confirming just how little he had ever truly controlled. When the legalities ended, I pulled up a presentation I'd been quietly building for years. "Now," I said, "let's talk about the company's performance." I showed charts of declining profits, ignored customer complaints, and high turnover under Sarah's leadership. "We've lost 15% of our regular customers. Staff turnover has increased by 40%. 3 of our most profitable locations are operating at a loss." The board nodded grimly. They'd suspected as much but had been powerless to intervene. "Here's my plan," I continued. "We're going back to basics. Quality food, excellent service, and taking care of our people. Every executive, including me, will spend 1 week per quarter working in the restaurants. We're reinstating and expanding Grandpa's employee education program." To my surprise, even Dad looked stunned by the depth of my understanding. The board members, meanwhile, were smiling. The next few months were intense. I worked harder than ever, visiting every location, meeting staff at all levels. James supported me with his tech expertise, helping modernize operations while preserving Grandpa's values. Sarah tried to spread rumors about how I'd stolen the company, but the truth was clear. As our restaurants began to thrive again, her credibility crumbled. Mom and Dad took longer to come around. They watched from a distance as profits climbed, employee satisfaction rose, and new restaurants opened. I hadn't fired Dad. Despite everything, he was good at operations when stripped of status. The real turning point came 6 months later. I was working a dinner shift at Grandpa's original diner, something I did regularly when they walked in. They sat in their usual booth, looking uncharacteristically uncomfortable. "Welcome to Jack's," I said professionally, handing them menus. "Tonight's special is Grandpa's famous meatloaf." "Claire," Mom started, then stopped, glancing around the packed restaurant. Every table was full. Staff moved with energy and pride, the air buzzing with life. "This place looks good," she admitted softly. "It is good," I replied. "Profits are up 25% from last year. Staff turnover is at an all-time low. And we're opening 2 new restaurants next month." Dad cleared his throat. "We were wrong. About you. About everything. Your grandfather. He knew exactly what he was doing." I nodded, feeling the familiar weight of keys in my pocket. The same keys Grandpa had given me when I started as a dishwasher at 14. "Success isn't about looking important," I said. "It's about being important to your people." "And Sarah?" Mom asked hesitantly. "She's welcome to apply for an entry-level position," I said simply. "Same as anyone else. She'll have to work her way up if she wants to." They nodded slowly, understanding at last. That night after closing, I sat in Grandpa's old office, my office now. His picture hung on the wall, and beside it the letter he'd written me on my wedding day, framed. James brought me a cup of coffee. "Penny for your thoughts?" I touched the frame, smiling. "Just thinking how sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about proving them wrong, by being exactly who you always were." "And who's that?" James asked, though he knew. "The girl who loved this business enough to start as a dishwasher. The woman who knows every employee's name. The CEO who still works dinner shifts." He grinned. I stood, gathering my things. "Come on. We've got the employee scholarship dinner tomorrow, and I want to make Grandpa's apple pie for it." As we left, I paused in front of the original diner sign Grandpa had hung years ago. Montgomery Family Restaurants, where everyone is family. And finally, after all this time, it was true. The next morning I arrived early. To my surprise, Sarah was waiting in the lobby. She looked different, simpler, without her designer clothes and perfect makeup. She held a job application in her hands. I'd like to apply for a server position, she said quietly. If that's okay. I studied her, and for the first time I saw something new in her eyes. Humility. Training starts Monday at 7 a.m., I said, taking the application. Don't be late. Because sometimes family has to fall apart before it can be rebuilt stronger. And sometimes the person they called simple is the one who can put it all back together. Grandpa had known that all along. Now, finally, so did everyone else.